about yourself?
Please, let's take our seats.
You can leave it there if you want. This felt kind of weird.
Good evening and welcome to our regular scheduled meeting. We're going to have our invocation from Reverend Jerry T. Anderson of the New Macedonian Baptist Church in Riverdale. Gary? What did I say? Oh, I'm sorry. And I know better. Jerry Anderson.
Thank you so much.
Jerry Anderson. Excuse me, Pastor.
Yeah. Let us all stand, please.
It'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
May we take a moment, bow our heads. Our Father, we do come and do say thank you again for another moment that you have tremendously blessed us to come together. We thank you now for this meeting tonight. We pray for our chairman. We pray for the Board of Commissioners. We pray, Father, for Clayton County as a large, our first responders. We pray, Father, that this meeting will go according to as you have so ordained it. We thank you for the people that are here tonight. We thank you for the wisdom that will come forth out of the mouths of each person. Now, Father, we ask that as we go forth in this meeting, bless us tonight and protect us and cover us with your blood and keep us tonight. And we ask all these in Christ's name, Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening to everyone, and welcome to the October 2nd, 2018 regular business meeting. The first order of business is the adoption of the agenda. Does any member want to offer any amendments?
Yes, Madam Clerk, I would like to move item B, recommendation for award ITB 18-19, construction of the Information Technology Center for Clayton County from the consent agenda to the regular agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous.
Are there any further amendments? I'm sorry, did I hear? May we have a motion to adopt the agenda with the approved amendment?
Is there a motion? I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
The next item is a proclamation. Clayton County recognizes National 4-H Week as October 7th through the 13th, 2018, as presented by Chairman Turner. Will the members of the 4-H, as well as anyone else that is here present to receive the proclamation, please come forward as the commissioners join you for the presentation of the proclamation. And now the reading of the proclamation.
Clayton County recognizes 4-H Week, October 7 through 13, 2018. Whereas the young people of Georgia and Clayton County are our greatest natural resource, and whereas Covington is the birthplace of Southern 4-H clubs, with Mr. G.C. Adams and Mr. P.D. Johnson starting the first boys' corn clubs in 1904. And whereas the 4-H program has assisted in the growth and development of Georgia and county youths for 114 years. And whereas adult volunteer leaders and advisors are devoting their talents, leadership, and resources to serving these leaders of tomorrow. And whereas 4-H helps its members discover and acquire the essential elements of positive youth development of mastery, generosity, belonging, and independence in the areas of citizenship, healthy living, and science. And whereas Clayton County, Georgia, 4-H entices young people and adults to become involved in the educational and entertaining programs offered by the 4-H program in Clayton County through the University of Georgia College of Agricultural and Environmental Sciences Cooperative Extension. Now, therefore, I, Jeffrey E. Turner, Chairman of the Clayton County Board of Commissioners, do hereby declare and proclaim the week of October 7 through 13, 2018 as 4-H Week. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of Clayton County, Georgia, to be affixed this second day of October in the year 2018.
Before we get to your seat, I just want to recognize our 4-H kids, who I'm very proud of. Leah Jenkins, Jordan Sheffield. Satterfield, okay. All right, glasses. Sylvania. Excuse me. What you said? Satterfield. All right. Ryan. Jordan Wood. Of course, we got the parents because they couldn't do what they do without their parents. Miss Melanie Wood, Miss Linda Jenkins, Miss Jamie Satterfield, Miss Rebecca Hardeman, who is the director of the Extension Services. Let's give them a Most welcome.
And the next proclamation recognizes the Alpha Mentoring Academy of the Pi Gamma Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, Inc., presented by Commissioner Gregory. Will the members of the fraternity please come forward?
Gentlemen. And now the reading of the proclamation.
Clayton County recognizes the Alpha Mentoring Academy Youth Program, sponsored by Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, October 2nd, 2018. Whereas the Clayton County Board of Commissioners are proud to recognize the Alpha Mentoring Academy, or AMA program, sponsored by Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Phi Gamma Lambda Chapter, which proudly serves young males in high school who are residents of Clayton County, Georgia. And whereas there are AMA mentees in the dual enrollment program at Clayton State University and other colleges. Research shows students engaged in one-to-one, professionally supported mentoring programs like the AMA are more likely to make positive choices in their lives and stay on track for their future. And whereas Clayton County Board of Commissioners recognize the value that mentors have in building a strong and sustainable community, and there are many young people who benefit from the mentoring movement. And whereas the AMA provides mentors who are educated, professional men that are trained to work with young adults and provide programs and activities that develop responsible, productive citizens with a focus in 6 areas: support, empowerment, boundaries and expectations, life skills, social competencies, and program activities, offering more than $8,000 in scholarships and other supportive services and resources over the last 4 years. And whereas AMA sponsors field trips, outings, cultural tours, college tours, and fun youth activities and community service projects, such as the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Parade, March of Dimes and Lupus Walk, Teen Voters Education Summit, Veterans Outreach Correspondence, and Alpha Day at the Georgia State Capitol. And whereas AMA mentors fill critical needs in our communities daily and serve as role models to young men, their presence makes a tremendous difference in the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual development of their mentees, build self-esteem, develop character, provide wisdom and guidance, encourage learning and leadership skills. Their dedication and commitment convey to mentees and the world that every human being has moral values, worthwhile hopes and dreams. Now, therefore I, Sona Singleton Gregory, Commissioner of District 1, on behalf of the Clayton County Board of Commissioners, officially acknowledge the work of Alpha Mentoring Academy Youth Program, sponsored by Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of Clayton County, Georgia, to be affixed this 2nd day of October in the year 2018.
Well, actually, this is about maybe a quarter of our group. A lot of our mentees are involved in sports and other community activities, but we meet twice a month at the Rognizer Center, and we provide various programs and activities to keep our youth off the street. Whenever we look at the news, we always see negative things about what youth are doing. So we are proud to know that at least 17 of the youth of Clayton County is in our care, and we take care of providing various program activities so that they will be motivated and encouraged to stay in school, to finish school, hoping to go to college, and to other choices that they may have once they finish high school. So the men of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Phi Gamma Lambda Chapter, we are proud to have this mentoring program. This is our 4th year, and we have had about 8 that have graduated from the program. They're now in college, they still keep in contact with us, and we just inducted 7 more this year to have 17, and we have a waiting list. So just want to thank the Clayton County community for your support, especially the parents, and especially Commissioner Gregory for your continued support with our program, along with the Board of Commissioners.
Next is a presentation award to Stillwell School of Arts Jazz Band and Male Chorus, as presented by Commissioner Franklin Warner. Will the members of the band and the male chorus members please come forward?
If everyone could watch the screen to the left real quick, they're going to stop it, but I want you to be able to see something. All right, so that's why we are here today. Just a couple weeks ago, we were able to host what was our third Community on the Rise events. And I believe that I've done this already twice. We previously honored Riverdale Jazz Band because they were the go-to jazz band in the area. Can we get IT to, there we go, yay. Can we get IT to stop that for a second, please, sir? Okay, I'm so sorry. But I wanted you all to be able to see the jazz band. And I will tell you, that event was absolutely phenomenal. The police chief was there, the fire chief was there, the department heads were there, and the COO, chairman, so many people, everyone in education, all of our educational leaders were there, and it was sponsored by Georgia Power. What we did that day was present to the world who we really are here in Clayton County. But more than present to the world who we really are, we wanted to know where we are in terms of the homes being sold. And I gotta announce to you that right now, as of this date, we are no longer underwater in terms of homes that are still being bank owned for the most part. All of the transactions are now arm's length transactions, and we have the lowest stock of houses in the state of Georgia. And that ain't it. Our average home selling price is $200,000. So I'm telling you, don't believe the hype. This info, y'all could do better than that. Why is that significant? We were the last county. We were hit the hardest, as the information shared with us showed, but we're the last county to come from under all the burdens of the stock market crash and the difficult times back, it was 07 and 08, I believe it was. So, but that night, all of our guests got something special. They were able to hear from the Stillwell School of the Arts, the only American nationally accredited performing arts school in the state of Georgia, and they were wowed by them. So today I've got something special, and I'm gonna explain it. So a total amount from that event going back to Stillwell School of the Arts is $700 from that program. But not only that, we're gonna give you $350 to the band, and I think the Singing Brothers are trying to raise some money to go on a trip. So y'all get $350 too. What about that? You get some money, you get some money. Thank you, Mr. Jackson, and he's a FAMU grad. And then also to none other than Dr. Cheeks. Dr. Cheek, thank you. Get me right. Dr. Cheek, and I will be performing with them. No, I'm not singing tonight, but I'll be performing with them on the 27th of October. Come out and support our students. As you heard from Commissioner Gregory, as well as from our previous fraternity, when you keep kids busy, you keep them off the street. So let's support our children, okay? Come on. They said give a few bars.
Poor man Lazarus, sick and disabled, dip your finger in the water, come and cool my tongue, 'cause I'm tormented in the flame. He had to eat crumbs from the rich man's table. Dip your finger in the water, come and cool my tongue, 'cause I'm tormented in the flame. I'm tormented in the flame. I'm tormented in the flame. Dip your finger in the water, come and cool my tongue, 'cause I'm tormented in the flame. Rich man died, he lives so well. Dip your finger in the water, come and cool my tongue, 'cause I'm tormented in the flame. And when he died, he went straight to hell. Dip your finger in the water, come and cool my tongue, 'cause I'm tormented in the flame. I'm tormented in the flame. I'm tormented in the flame. Dip your finger in the water, come and cool my tongue, 'cause I'm tormented in the flame. I love to shout, I love to sing. Dip your finger in the water, come and cool my tongue, 'cause I'm tormented in the flame. I love to praise my heavenly King. Dip your finger in the water, come and cool my tongue, 'cause I'm tormented in the flame. I'm tormented in the flame. I'm tormented in the flame. Dip your finger in the water, come and cool my tongue, 'cause I'm tormented in the flame. Cool my tongue, dip your finger in the water, come and cool my tongue, dip your finger in the water, come and cool my tongue, 'cause I'm tormented in the flame. Dip your finger in the water, come and cool my tongue, 'cause I'm tormented in the flame.
Mr. Chairman, the board will now consider the consent agenda.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
I'll second the motion. Those in favor, aye.
I have a question.
Question, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This is for, I guess it's the IT department, Mr. Brookins. Item E, RFP 18131, regarding the fiber optic cable and splicing services. It's a simple question. Do we maintain a list of work that's been previously done?
Just by purchase orders.
So do we have the addresses or the locations and things?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions referenced to any of the items on the consent agenda? Hearing none, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Carol Rogers Central Services for item B, their recommendation for award ITB number 18-19.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. Recommendation for award of ITB 18-19, which is construction of the Information Technology Center for Clayton County, Georgia. The recommendation is for award to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, meeting the specifications, which is Litchkey Commercial Construction, Inc., located in Noonan, Georgia, in the amount of $4,366,700. Funding is available through the 2015 SPLOST funds. The bid tabulation, summary, the department recommendation memo, and agreement are attached for your review and information. The request is for you to approve the recommendation, authorize the chairman, his designee, to execute all necessary documents to accomplish the intent of the contract, and authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget accordingly.
Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? Hearing none, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, item number 8 is a discussion item on model transportation in Clayton County on page 6.
Yeah, I believe Commissioner Hambrick asked this to be a discussion item, so I will let Commissioner Hambrick lead off.
Okay. Last week I sent.
Hold on a second, Commissioner. Let's let him go ahead next. Okay, sorry.
Yes, last week I sent each commissioner, our attorney, and COO and others an email regarding the Rapid Transit Act, a copy of that and a meeting that was held. several weeks ago, Mr. Starr and our representative on the State Transportation Committee, Representative Glanton, and I, along with the attorney for the state of Georgia that represents that committee, met. And our discussion was regarding whether or not Clayton County can create a transportation district which would be around the airport. And now that was in the act, I believe, and please, Mr. Attorney, help me out on this. As a matter of fact, I would like for you to really take it up and let us know whether or not that's true, because if it is, there's a possibility that Clayton County could be getting, well, let me just say $1 million or maybe a couple million of dollars a year or whatever, if that act is still in effect. And according to the letter sent to us, the copy I sent to you all, from the attorney for the state, Ms. Jenna, that there is a possibility that that can happen, and that will be, it's still active and relevant now, even though it was, I think the act was passed back in 1980 or something. Okay.
The amendment that dealt with that issue was passed in 1980, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so is there a possibility, does it seem more favorable that we could get or form that region around the airport and receive those dollars?
Well, the amendment to the act that you refer to and that Ms. Doldy in her September 17th, 2018 letter refers to is still in force. I agree with her conclusion that it is still an available option, and very generally what it would allow would be the Board of Commissioners in conjunction with MARTA to create a district which is called in the act the Clayton County Atlanta Airport Public Transportation District. It would include all property located within Clayton County and used by and owned by the City of Atlanta that is a part of Hartsfield-Jackson. And the act does provide for an additional 1 cent sales tax to be imposed in that area to be used for public transportation, both on and emanating from or to the airport. So that I concur that that is still an available option.
Okay, because I was thinking when I was informed of this that of the possibility of, I guess maybe the Development Authority or someone, since talks were in place some time back regarding the possibility of Amazon coming, and I believe there were talks, correct me if I'm right or wrong, regarding, I think it was MARTA, the state of Georgia, and some others talking about rail coming to that area, to that Mountain View area. Now, is that the only area that would be included or could be included?
The specific language within the act limits the use of the funds for the provision of public transportation services and for the construction, maintenance, and operation of a transportation project to and from and within the district that would be created. So it would have to connect, that any project would have to connect that Hartsfield district that you would create with the remainder of the county.
Okay. Let me just mention this because I was in some meetings some months ago, and they were talking about how the that rental car facility was really outgrowing itself. And one of the comments I made then was, well, okay, if we build another one, let it come south. Would something like that, could that be included?
I think any type of a public transportation project that goes to that district could be included.
Okay. Including the rail, the light rail?
Yes, ma'am. There's no limitation on the type of project other than that it must touch the area, the airport area. That is the tax district.
So what do we do? What can we do?
Well, the procedure for beginning that would be for this board to vote that they desired to create that district, and then once that vote took place, then there would be a requirement of a negotiation with MARTA. The agreement that is called for in this is an agreement between MARTA and the county on behalf of the district to enter into a contract And that's all that's required. There's no referendum required. The legislation specifically excludes this project from the operation of the requirement of a referendum. But that is what would be required, would be this board to say that that's what you wanted to do, and then negotiate with MARTA for an agreement.
The MARTA board?
Yes, ma'am, the MARTA board. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so there's some other question where you finished.
No,
I'm
no, no,
sorry.
I was gonna ask, for input, you know, cause
I have some
if you all have read.
Okay, so how large is this region or district for this special tax?
It is everything that's within the airport that's owned by the city of Atlanta.
On the airport property?
Yes, sir. So it would be within the fence, excluding any property not located in Clayton County. We can only impose it,
Right.
a very small portion of the air, something within the fence. I don't think there's any retail or anything there where there's any sales tax, but I think a very small portion may be in Fulton County. But the district is specifically identified as any property owned by the city of Atlanta for airport purposes within Clayton County.
And it would basically raise the sales tax within that district to 9%.
It would authorize an additional penny. And
That's what you're asking for. That's what the
What?
district would be asking for.
Yes.
But it would only be imposed on the airport.
On that area, only within the airport.
And so I have a question, Mr.
Go ahead,
Chair.
Commissioner.
So I don't know if Jack can answer this, but we know that there's a cap on the amount that we can collect in sales tax. So
Yes, ma'am.
where does that position us in being close or near to that maximum amount?
One of the issues raised by Ms. Doldy in her letter, on the second page, dealt with the provisions of 4886, which imposes that cap of 8%, of 14%. We currently collect in total sales tax to the county, 12%. There is the 4% that is county imposed, lost, E-Splosh, Splost, and MARTA. And then the other 8% is the tourism tax. Those are the only taxes that are collected within the county that are specifically sales and use taxes. So we are now 2 cents below the cap.
Okay. I'm all for Clayton County getting whatever is due to us, especially when it's dealing with the airport. My only question, or I don't want to say hesitation, is I know you've got to seize the moment, but right now with so much happening right now, I'm wondering, is the timing the right time to do it, number one? Number two, because everybody's in the fight of their life for that airport, and they've got every quiver they can find, they're pulling out of their cap. So do you feel, in your opinion, that this is solid enough that they're not going to come back to us and say, well, you know what, you can't impose a tax on us because we're the only ones that are getting that tax, so they're not going to, we can stand up on that.
Yes, ma'am. I believe it is a collectible tax. I
Okay.
don't believe that there is a legal challenge. Now,
That was my
yeah, I
question.
don't believe that there is a legal challenge. I would concur with Ms. Doldy that it is still an available tax that now it's going to require an agreement with MARTA. We
That's the
can't
other
just
thing.
impose it, but the first step would be to begin negotiating with MARTA for that.
So I think what we've got to figure out is it more important for us to push for, we need to make this happen. I want to see some dollar amounts that we would be receiving back from this tax, number one, but also considering that it will only be used back at MARTA, then that's going to push for us to be able to make that happen for the rail going that way. But I don't want to see that rail slowed down going down to Lovejoy. And you and I both know, I've been to the MARTA meetings. Sometimes you can put a little bit of too much in your gumbo and then it just all sit there. So that's my only concern, but I want everything due to Clayton County.
Right, and I'm really glad that, someone went through, I believe it was Mr. Starr, went through this and found this, because this is something that should have happened years ago.
I think we've been talking about this for a while
Back,
now.
well, no, I mean, like back in the 80s, from what I've read with these dates and all.
I'll be honest with you, I'm going to give your friend a pat on the back, but I will tell you this, before I got in office, we've been knowing, and I've had conversations in particular with our tax commissioner, who has always stated that, Clayton County is not seizing everything that's available to us, and this was one of the things in discussion. It's just finally coming to the board, and I thank you for bringing it to the board, but I'm gonna give you credit. Thank you so much for
But,
that.
Yeah,
Thank
let
you
me,
so
let me
much.
say this. One of the
Thank
things
you.
that I pushed when I came on this board was to collect from the concessionaires, and Mr. Attorney, you can stay up here for a few minutes and explain this.
I didn't want to.
Well, one of the
Camera.
things was the collecting from the concessionaires from the airport, and we started doing that.
Right.
And then, of course, it was taken away. But to me, this is like a reboot, I guess you can call it, of something that we can collect and collect legally from the airport. Because, and hopefully down the road, there will be other things to come. But one of the things, two things, I'm excited about the fact that we can collect and that we can move this transit, this rail, because I hear Marta talking about rail everywhere else, but Clayton County. They'll talk about, what's this bus, rapid bus, what is rapid
transit.
Rapid
Bus
transit with buses, but I have not heard them talk and put Clayton County and rail together. So I think this would be a great opportunity for that to happen. And I think once it comes in that area, then we can get it extended down to Lovejoy and all over the county. So this is a start.
Let me ask this, would this opportunity would have availed itself to us if we weren't a part of MARTA, the MARTA system?
Would it have, yes, sir.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
regardless if we were with
Yes,
MARTA or
Right.
not, we
Yes,
still,
sir.
yeah.
Because it was still
To
in
your
Clayton
point.
back then.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
should.
it's been an
done this
option for a long
Long
time.
time.
Okay.
And it
So
has
the-
been discussed. And
So my second question is, the money that's collected, I
Yes,
guess it
sir.
goes to a special revenue fund or account, and then that money can only be used for that transit purpose?
Yes, sir. It would go to MARTA just like the
go to
current
MARTA
MARTA
instead of
penny.
us. Okay.
But the statute itself limits the use to a public transportation project that touches, that the airport is a part of and that would come into Clayton County.
I have a question.
Mr. Evans?
The airport owns non-contiguous parcels within Clayton County, specifically in that Mountain View area on both sides of the interstate.
Yes, sir.
The details of the public transportation use that this could fund could touch any of those parcels, or does it have to touch a specific parcel like where their headquarters is?
It has to, in my opinion, it has to touch a portion of what is considered the airport. And the non-contiguous parcels that are outside the fence, particularly those that are located on the east side of I-75, are not considered part of the airport because they pay ad valorem tax on those parcels. That they're not exempt. It has to be a part of the airport.
Thank you. The obligation to touch that fence line, is it specific to a dedicated line such as a rail line, or is it arbitrary that it could be a terminus of a bus stop or a trolley or a streetcar?
It is not that specific. It merely says that it has to, well, specifically, the language is that the project will provide public transportation services and for the construction, maintenance, and operation of a transportation project to and from and within said district and the local governing body. So, in other words, it's got to get to the airport in some manner.
And then the negotiated district or terms between the county and the MARTA board, would that be the vehicle that allows for bonding capacity, or is it implied that there is or is not bonding capacity off of this?
The bonding capacity the revenue would enhance MARTA's bonding capacity.
MARTA's bonding capacity.
That's correct. Yeah. I mean, this
So-
is just like the MARTA penny.
So these funds go into the district and are paid to MARTA.
Right.
To be managed by MARTA for the construction and M&O of a public use within the district.
That's
They don't come to the county. any discretion would be at MARTA's within the context of the negotiated contract.
That's right, and that's why any agreement we negotiated with them would have to be pretty specific as to where that money was going.
And it all has to be passed. A lot, a lot
Okay.
better than before.
Now help me just put this in the context of current events. So September 6th, the MARTA board voted to allow Gwinnett into the RTCAA.
Right.
Help me understand the context of that, because I've read different things. So the ATL Act, House Bill 930, allowed them being MARTA board to include Gwinnett without the participating members, or is that including the city and the 3 counties, or is that the 15th Amendment that's going to eventually come before us for final consideration as a member?
930 allowed MARTA and Gwinnett County to negotiate directly and remove the requirement of concurrence by the other jurisdictions.
Okay. And I know this is to some degree speculative, but it is speculated that MARTA will pass some sort of an amendment to the RTCAA later this week.
October 4th.
Is that what we understand it?
The meeting's
Thursday?
That's what
October
I've
4th,
heard.
Thursday.
Yeah,
Okay. Does House Bill 930 provide for the concurrence or non-concurrence of the participating members for any other changes, such as might come forth on October 4th?
Beyond the Gwinnett piece, I don't think so. I don't recall anything else in there that removed that concurrence requirement except for the Gwinnett joining.
Okay, thank you. And then lastly, I know this is a lot of information, but the ATL executive director back on July 25th gave a presentation to all parties involved and where ATL opined that MARTA, after the ATL taking over various services, would only have heavy rail under its jurisdiction. And on Atlanta Regional's website as of this morning, it says the same thing. You and I talked that may or may not be your legal opinion, and when Mr. Jeff Parker showed up for their quarterly meeting right there at that podium a month or so ago, he said that MARTA's interpretation is that all rail, current and future, heavy, light, commuter would fall under MARTA's jurisdiction. Could you speak to that a little bit so I can understand what we can and can't do, or we should or shouldn't expect to do?
With all due respect, what I would prefer to do would be not speak to that in the event we were to get into litigation. I think there's an argument, but I don't want to state an opinion that might or might not differ from what the position we might want to take if we got in a fight about it.
So Robbie Ash, the chairman of the MARTA board, is quoted in the local newspaper, in the Atlanta newspaper recently, of bringing commuter rail to Clayton County. And his executive director, general manager, Mr. Parker, says they can do that. But Atlanta Regional Commission and ATL says that that's not possible. Now, we're talking about creating a rail system or jurisdiction here that would, a district that could perhaps fund a rail, but we're not sure if MARTA's even going to be the principal in the transaction.
In my opinion, MARTA has the ability going forward to create rail. I don't believe that the law has taken that away from them.
Okay.
I mean, I think they will continue to have that ability.
And it's not necessarily heavy rail only, the way ARC says.
That's
It's
right.
Any kind of rail, as
believe
far
that
as we
to be
know.
the case, yeah. I
Okay.
don't believe that there is a distinction in the act between those things.
And then those projects, presumably, MARTA board will vote on November 4th or October 4th on this Thursday for what I think they're going to call the 15th Amendment to the RTCAA. As I understand it, the new 930 legislation requires that all engineering reports and projects be on that prior to 12/31 of this year, December 31st of this year, in order to be grandfathered into the capital future projects without having to go through that extra layer of bureaucracy being the ATL board.
Correct.
Is that
I
right?
believe that is correct.
Have you had any dialogue with the MARTA board about any revisions to those projects or recommended projects or engineering reports
No,
in the last couple of years?
no.
Okay.
Not since the discussions with, well, I haven't had any dialogue with the MARTA board about any of it. The last dialogue I had with anybody at MARTA was during the last consideration of the 15th Amendment. And I did speak with their counsel on several occasions at that point in time.
Now, that last version of the 15th Amendment, which, correct me if I'm wrong, was in 2016,
I believe that's correct.
it provides for and going back to the 2014, 13th and 14th Amendments, those provide for a high-speed transit alternative for our half penny. They do not specifically provide for rail of any kind. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, that's correct. And the MARTA agreement, the agreement that we entered into with MARTA, that the county entered into with MARTA when we joined, provided for that same option.
Which doesn't have to include any kind of rail in any sort of capacity whatsoever, and that decision is at MARTA's discretion.
That is correct.
So if this board was to, as a participating member of MARTA, be in a position to agree to that, any kind of contractual amendments, 15th Amendment, would that be a point that we could negotiate?
Certainly.
So if we want commuter rail anywhere in Clayton County, we might want to have language in the 15th Amendment to the RTCAA with or without these special airport districts specifically to obligate our half penny to rail, if that's what we want.
Yeah, and it would be my recommendation that any negotiations that we had with regard to this penny and the projects here be separate and apart,
Right.
because the 15th Amendment does require approval by the other jurisdictions, where an agreement with regard to this district only requires Clayton County and MARTA concurrence.
And then one last
No,
one.
no.
I think that we as a board should take up some sort of proclamation towards or resolution towards that. But one last question, then I'll be quiet. The half penny that MARTA collects from City of Atlanta, that supposedly is the basis of this 15th Amendment coming before MARTA board, as well as the penny that they will be collecting from Gwinnett if Gwinnett ratifies the agreement by referendum in a month. Will those be bonded the way our half penny is?
Yes. The MARTA Act permits MARTA to use their total revenues to determine their bonding capacity. And so the answer is yes, that in the same way that our half penny that is escrowed is a receipt to MARTA, which they can use in the evaluation of and determination of their bonding capacity.
Okay, so basically, our half penny is a general revenue for MARTA for based on their credit, so they can borrow money for projects.
That's correct.
And if for some horrible hypothetical universe situation that MARTA defaulted on some of their debts, our money would be used to take care of that.
Any revenue from MARTA can be called for the purpose of satisfying their debts.
And are there any MARTA bonded projects, capital projects that you're aware of that exist anywhere in Clayton County?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
No, I mean,
Would we be
they
able-
may have bonded their buses.
Okay.
You know, they may have bought their buses with bonded money that serve Clayton County,
So-
but nothing beyond that.
So right now, our money is obligated to their debt that isn't being used in Clayton County, and they are obligated to use a half penny of our penny towards a rapid transit alternative that at their discretion doesn't have to include rail in any way, shape, or form.
I think that's accurate.
Okay. All right.
Right.
I'm done.
Now, two things. One is what you just said, but I thought somewhere there was an agreement, and I believe Ash said this, that either 2020 or 2022, that Clayton County would have rail, or they would be working on the rail or something. Was that anywhere? That's not anywhere in.
That was
That's
his
not any-
AJC Q&A.
Oh,
That's not in any written document. No.
but he did state
Oh,
it
they
in a
said
meeting.
that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
but that's not in any of the written documents.
Okay, and back to the, hopefully, that we can, do something on this agreement here. Is it possible that, since we have to take it to the MARTA board and all, that if they don't agree, and I don't know why they wouldn't, because the money is coming to them, that we could hold out on that 15th Amendment?
You can negotiate.
Oh, we could
In any
negotiate.
manner you want to.
Yeah.
You know, that's leverage
Yeah,
for anything
okay.
that's involved, that the parties are negotiating. The fact that they need to be separately approved doesn't mean that they can't be used
Okay.
for negotiating purposes.
Okay, well, I think, if they do any, decide they want to go another route, and all, especially if we agree to take this forth, then if they, then we have that 15th to back up. But I don't think they would. What do you think? Yeah, because the
should.
money's coming to them, so.
Commissioner Warner, you have something? No.
I'm just gonna, I will say this, though. It's an interesting conversation, and I'm glad that I'm hearing the conversation. But I tell you this much, we've got to be involved when it comes to the dealings with MARTA from the beginning to the end. My personal take on it is I think we would be a little bit further along if we all met with them. I heard you say just a minute ago that, well, they've not had any conversations with you. But at the same token, you have the officials that come and have and try to have conversations with board members, and not all board members are amenable to conversations. So for me, I'm just cautious about anything moving forward, because the last 15th Amendment, when they tried to get it passed, I think there was some information that was provided to us that was a little bit, I wouldn't say disingenuous, and there were some of those that were speaking on behalf of the entire board that was concerning to me. We've just got to make sure that we understand that we get what is due to us, but also be at the table from the beginning to the end, and remember that the public voted to be members of MARTA. So I really am glad to hear this conversation, but I'm hoping that with this open conversation and dialogue, that no one on this board would be disingenuous and go and have side conversations without the entire board being aware of them in any of these discussions. That's my only take on it.
Yeah.
Mr. Emerson?
Mr. Chairman, have you had any dialogue with the MARTA board about these things?
I had a little conversation with Representative Roberta Abdul-Salam.
But with other board members, Mr. Ash and the rest of them, is there a conversation that we're not aware of about? No. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Hancock.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, let's move on.
Chuck Reed, Legal Department.
Mr. Chairman, we just have one ordinance, which is ordinance 2018-103, and which is an ordinance to amend the Code of Clayton County, Georgia, as amended specifically. Code of Clayton County, Georgia, Chapter 42, Fire Protection and Emergency Medical Services, Article 4, Open Burning, Section 42-92, Restrictions, Permit Required, Authority of Fire Marshal, Violation Penalty, to repeal conflicting laws, ordinances, and resolutions, to provide severability, to provide an effective date and for other purposes.
Is there a motion?
Essentially, it's just eliminating the Monday through Friday restriction on burning.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? Okay, just for clarification purposes, we just opened this up Monday through Friday from dusk to dawn, that you can burn now.
That's correct.
But it's still at dawn, and on the weekends, at dusk, you're not able to burn.
No.
Now, I thought it was taking us back to what it was before.
This is 7 days a week.
Yeah.
7 days
That's
a
why I
week.
just said, on the weekends and Monday through Friday and the weekends, you're able to burn from dusk to
Yeah,
dawn.
Monday-
Except after dawn, you still can't use your fire pits or anything like that.
After dark.
After dark. Excuse me.
You can
It
still use
excludes
fire
fire
pits. It always
pits.
allows you to use fire pits.
No burning.
It excludes fire pits.
Right.
Oh, it does.
And you still have the health restrictions, that were in place before. The only thing it changes is that where there was a restriction on burning during the day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, now that restriction is removed.
Yeah, it's
But you
back.
still have the medical piece intact.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So those people within that medical, what is a quarter-mile radius, still cannot burn at all.
That's the only, yes, the only thing that was removed was the restriction from Monday through Friday. Everything else remains the
back.
same.
All right, any other questions, statements?
It's just been a long time coming. Thank you.
All right, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, we would need an executive session on personnel, real estate, and litigation.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, item number 10 is the loan board appointment.
All right, the only appointment we have this evening is to the Mental Health, Developmental Disabilities, and Addictive Diseases Community Service Board to fill the unexpired term of Kenneth Wilson, who resigned. The term expires on June 30th, 2019. Full board appointment. Are there any recommendations?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to recommend Ms. Kathy Loving to serve on that board.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous. All right, is there anything else, Madam Clerk, before we go into executive session?
No, sir.
All right, I'll take a motion to go into executive session for personnel, real estate, and litigation.
So moved.
I'll second the motion. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Please take your seats. Okay, motion to reconvene.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Mr. Reed.
I have two settlements. The first is involving Fatima Ingla, I-A-G-I-N-L-A. It's a property damage claim, the amount of $5,731.58 relating to an accident that took place on July 7, 2018. We're asking that the board approve it and authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budgets necessary.
Take them both together.
Okay. The second is involving Evelyn.
Speak more into the mic, please.
Oh. Second involves Evelyn Williams in an accident that occurred on February 20th, 2017. It includes Evelyn and her husband, Philip, and we are requesting a settlement amount of $472,000 for the accident that occurred on that date, and also to authorize the chief financial officer to make what's necessary for that one as well.
All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any questions on either item? Hearing none, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
The board will now hear public comments. Citizens will be given 3 minutes maximum time limit to speak before the Board of Commissioners. Please state your name and county of residency for the record. Speak clearly into the microphone, and speakers should be courteous, respectful, not make any disparaging remarks or use abusive language when addressing the board.
Pat Bryant. Pat Bryant. Alvin Farmer.
Alvin Farmer, unincorporated Clayton County, Hampton, Georgia. I've been trying to work with the school board and get with them and have had no success. I am very disappointed in the kids that I tested based on the information. I have some information to pass on to the school board. Since they won't let me talk to them, I'm going to talk to you about it. Maybe they will look at this. There's a program called Scully.com that gives kids scholarships based on the individual thing. You're a young, gifted, black, and big feet, they got a scholarship for you. Your student can. This is twice. I got this off of the radio station 102.9. I looked it up. It's supposed to be one of these things that help your IQ out. Where there's a will, there's an A. I 100,000% endorse this project. My son is a graduate of Clayton County, Lovejoy High School, with two things. Where there's a will, there's an A. Me, my wife, and this program called the Human Calculator. My son is now in the Air Force with a top secret job that requires knowledge also. And based on those two things I use. The second one, DonorsChoose.org. This organization I found this on the Good Morning America 6 months ago, and actually they can go back to 10th of September. They was up there talking about it again. This organization been in business 18 years. They done gave out $825 million. My research, they give it to individual teachers, not to the school. The first time I seen it, they was in Connecticut. 20 teachers applied for some money. They gave all 20 teachers whatever they asked for, plus they gave the school an additional $25,000. I'm talking about computers, laptops, trips, supplies, all of that. That's all I got on that subject. I've been trying to go to the Board of Education, and they won't let me go. So maybe they will look at this meeting. Anybody can get access. Actually, the police called me over there. Tomorrow will be 2 weeks. They won't let me talk to Mr. Beasley. The chief of police of the school said I'm supposed to talk to Mr. Smith. I have not got a phone call back from that school, and tomorrow will be two weeks. Now, I already told you I'm retired Air Force. This civilian world works too slow for me. But y'all teaching me patience. But in the Air Force, this would not happen. And the most important thing for my time run out, I'm a senior citizen, and every senior citizen in the world, we should not be taxed for anything. Splash tax, sales tax, income tax, you name it. If tax is on it, the only tax we should get is collecting tax. So I want that every senior citizen should not have to pay not penny, especially us that are now, I don't have no kids in school, and I shouldn't be paying, and based on the way the Board of Education doing, I want my money back. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mickey Garber.
Mickey Garber, unincorporated, Rex, Georgia. I have nothing to say, I only have questions. Please describe to me what was done on the burn ban. What is it going down to? Mr. Chairman, can you tell me?
Okay, you know this is cutting into your 3 minutes. But
Yes, sir, hurry up.
As long as you understand that.
Oh, Lord.
We ain't stopping the clock. Okay, basically, you can burn now 7 days a week.
Yes, sir.
From dusk to dawn.
Yes,
or
sir.
dawn to dusk. The medical piece is still included.
Yes, sir.
Basically, that's it.
That's it. I still have to call and get.
Yes, you still you got to
permission
get a
from
permit.
Clayton County
Still need to get a
and the
permit from the
state.
fire marshal. That's
Okay. We still got two.
Well,
Go ahead.
And this is in it too. The state has a ban from, I think, like May to October or
Yes,
something.
ma'am, I understand.
Yeah, that's still in
I
effect.
understand that, Ms. Amber. Okay, secondly, this MARTA thing that y'all are discussing. Mr. Hancock got up here and said, I assume this, I think that, they certainly wouldn't do this. From the experience that I had with MARTA, and I voted MARTA in here to give transportation to our citizens, and they just put up a pole with a garbage bag tied to it, no place for the people to sit down to catch the bus, no protection for the mothers and children, a shelter from the wind and rain, and they said that our tax dollars would be spent in Clayton County. From seeing what MARTA did to us last time, I want us sitting at the table. I want the I's dotted and the T's crossed, and answer every bit of question that I have for them about it. That's all I got to say, and I still got 45 seconds.
Timothy Vondale Jefferson.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. First of all, I'd like to give my heartfelt condolences to one of our favorite senators, Dr. Henry Anderson, to his family. I would like to discuss, ironically, the MARTA issue. And as a reminder, as I was listening to the conversation, the number one thing that was missing was due diligence. This is broadcasted all over the world. And it appeared to me that, here we go again, that Clayton County doesn't appear to know what is going on. So it was not a good look. So in order to be loud, at least be right about it when you speak about it, because everybody's paying attention. But another concern I have, Vice Chairman Edmondson, is that I came to a Development Authority meeting on September the 21st, and it started at 12:15, and it was scheduled to end at 2:15. I checked the website. The last time I checked the website, the minutes were not posted as of May 30th of this year, and on your website, it goes back to September 2017, where the minutes are not being updated. And you informed the public that they need to go to the website to get updated on the minutes, but the minutes are not being posted. But I just want some clarification. As I understand the law, it takes a quorum to hold a meeting. Now, that meeting started at 12:15. Eldon Bell had to leave that meeting at 12:40. That made it not a quorum because there was only 3 members there. So I want to know, did that meeting, there was a lawyer present, did that meeting supposed to cease and desist at that time because they went into executive session to discuss real estate matters? So the meeting continued. So far as clarification, as far as the violation, am I right to assume that that meeting at that point was illegal when it was not a full quorum? That's my question.
Well, Mr. Hancock can correct me if I'm wrong, but if there was no action items on the agenda, then they could still meet. You just can't take a vote unless you have a quorum.
Okay, even to discuss purchase of litigation matters?
You can discuss anything because it was a legally advisement or advertisement went out that the meeting would take place.
Okay.
So if that was in place, if they had a quorum when it started, although they wouldn't have to have a quorum to call a meeting just to discuss action items.
So why would it go into executive session?
That's part of it.
That's my question. Why did it go into executive session?
Mr. Hancock,
Because that's in,
it's not illegal for them to go into executive session to discuss anything, regardless of whether there's a quorum or not.
That's correct.
thank you.
Madam Clerk, that concludes public comment. Unless there's any other business before this board, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Good night, everyone.